It may be hard to believe looking at me now, because most of you that listen to these, you see me and know me. But at one point, I wanted to join the military. And because at the time, like I've said before, there were no jobs, there were no prospects, there didn't be really anything going for me because having a college degree is basically, I won't say you shouldn't go to college, it's just 4 years work experience was worth more than the college degree back then. And I went through the motions and lost weight to do it because first and foremost, they have strict weight requirements on both ends. Like they have a minimum and a maximum because I worked with a guy at one of my jobs. He was joining the Army. He was 6 feet tall, 126 pounds. And I was 5 inches taller and at the time 100 pounds heavier. And I was considered thin. So you can imagine what he had to go through because he was underweight, so they had to kind of fib their way in. So anyway, I lost the weight, got in pretty good shape, and I ran into a problem because I was wanting to do the Air Force and do OCS because if you've got a degree, you can go into OCS in any of the branches. And OCS was near where I lived, so I figured it'd be reasonable. But I ran into an issue. I couldn't find a recruiter because turns out the military had gotten a lot more choosy like during my lifetime because used to be they take whoever, whatever. They didn't care. Oh, you're overweight because I'm 300 pounds. They'd probably just be like, all right, we're gonna get that weight off of you and we'll make a Marine out of you or we'll make a Army grunt out of you. It's fine. But then I guess about the middle 2000s, they realized, wait a minute, we don't want the mess ups. We don't want the fat guys or fat people. We don't want the drug addicts. We don't want army, like the army or jail type deal. That no longer exists. They don't do that. They won't do that. So I couldn't find a recruiter, and I tried to get in touch with somebody, and I couldn't find anybody. There was no Air Force recruiter near where I lived. Like the closest one was in Nashville, 5 hours away, and I guess I didn't have that kind of drive. So I was like, you know what? Let me go talk to an Army recruiter. Army OCS is in Columbus, Georgia at Fort Benning. That's not too far away from me. I could do that because I didn't want to do the Marines because I've known a bunch of Marines and I didn't think I was cut out for it because I wasn't. Marines are a tribe apart. And I didn't want to do the Navy because it was too far away. So I go to the Army Recruiting Center, which is a good 45 minutes away. Again, they didn't have recruiters in town, at least for the Army. And I go up there and I tell them what I want to do. Hey, I'm got a college degree, interested in doing OCS. And military recruiters are snake oil salesmen. They are going to do everything they can to benefit themselves and their quotas. So they're like, oh, man, you don't want to do OCS. If you just go enlisted, you'll go in as a specialist because you got a degree. You don't want to go into OCS and be a butter bar. That's what they call lieutenants. You want to do specialist. And they kept talking up me. And I was like, no, I want to do OCS. I don't want to be a specialist. And they were just like ignoring it. They didn't care. They're like, no, man, you want to be a specialist. They're pulling that social engineering that my mom always pulled, and it wasn't working. Because I was like, no, I'm not going in because OCS, you get paid pretty decent. Like, you make decent money. Specialists, the pay wasn't that good. What they wanted was, I got somebody with a degree. We got somebody that's smart. We want an enlisted man like this. It looks good for us. And I kept telling them no, and they kept saying, well, if you do OCS, you got to sit down for an interview with a bunch of generals, and they're going to ask you some questions, and you better have good answers. Well, fine by me. If y'all can help me prep, but they didn't want to help me. And finally, they said, well, you need to take the ASVAB. You haven't taken it since high school. And I don't know if you remember taking it. Everybody took it in high school and regretted it because I think my sister did pretty well, and I did too. And we forever got phone calls from recruiters. And recruiters always have an answer, What are you going to do? Go to college? Well, how are you going to pay for it? I got a scholarship. Well, if you have to get student loans, the Army will pay for it. Blah, blah, blah. And they just never stopped calling. Same with giving blood. We gave blood, and they called about every 5 minutes. Hell, I had a call today from the American Red Cross. But anyway, I go and take the ASVAB, and I am the oldest person there. I am like 25 at the time, and everybody else is like 18-year-olds. And what was interesting to me was they were excited about military life. All of them, they were like, I cannot wait to get a place of my own, get out of my parents' house, and just get on with my life. They were ready. They were excited. They were talking about what they're going to do. So, I mean, it was nice in that regard. It's just, it took forever. And I had to drive 2 hours to take it. I retook it. They got my score immediately, and I did pretty well. And they kept pushing for that specialist. And then they gave me a packet to fill out, and that packet must have been 100 pages long. And they said, be careful who you put as references, because if you can put them where it says references, you can only put them there the first time, and then you can't go through with it the second time. You can't use them again. And I just kind of put it in the car, and I never really used it. And then I went to the National Guard, and that was closer. And I kind of knew the guy. He'd kind of done the very thing I was trying to do. He'd lost a bunch of weight. He joined the National Guard. That's what he wanted to do. And then he became a recruiter. I think he still does it to this day, just in like Tennessee. And I told him I want to do OCS. He's like, okay, cool. I was like, you're not going to try to talk me out of it? No, man. Why would you not want to do, you want to do OCS? You'd be an officer, you get paid well, you get weekends off, holidays, yeah, you'd be stupid. I was like, well, the other recruiters, he said, look, man, a lot of recruiters are kind of unscrupulous. I am here, I want to get people that want to be here. I don't want people doing that. And another side note, they had a list, and I remember in that recruiter's office, of people that took the ASVAB. And they'd called them, and ones that did really well, they're like, oh, they went to the Marines. Can't believe they lost them. Anyway, that didn't end up working out. I ended up finding another job. Sometimes I regret it, but I don't know how serious I was, because clearly I wasn't serious, and I was serious enough to take the ASVAB, but not serious enough to fill out 100 pages of paperwork. And then another buddy of mine, he wanted to join, actually Frank, he wanted to join to pay for medical school. He wanted to be a doctor. He's a doctor now. He was going to join the Army. Hey, the Army will pay for it. But he'd had open heart surgery, and they were like, no. Even though he was about as fit as you get. He was in excellent shape and excellent health. His heart was perfectly healthy. It's just he had to have surgery, but they weren't having it. So remember that when people tell you, like, oh, you have to join the Army. The Army doesn't. The Army wants fit, intelligent people. All the military does. They don't want, what they want to do ideally is get the people, like get valedictorians of classes. That's what they want. They don't want the mess ups or the fools. They want talented people and fit people, because I worked out with a recruiter, and he told me all the stuff he had to pull for people to make weight. Like he had to like tape up their stomach for body fat, had to hide tattoos, had to like feed them a bunch of water so they'd meet weight. Because some of the standards are not very high. It just depends on it varies from each branch. So I couldn't speak to that, but he said, I got to meet my quotas, and you wouldn't believe how many issues I've run into. He said, I had a guy that got through everything, and he was in training, and they asked about tattoos, and he's like, well, is this tattoo okay? He tattooed the inside of his lip. They kicked him out, because you can have tattoos, but they have to be covered by a uniform. So tattoos on your hands, no. Facial tattoos, no. Neck tattoos, no. So it's an interesting perspective, but I sometimes think about what would happen if I joined, but I try to dwell on roads not taken, but I almost went into the military, but I don't brag about it, because I know too many people that went to basic training, get through basic training, and claim to be a veteran. I don't do that. I'm not a veteran, not even close. I didn't even join the military. I just considered it strongly. But just keep all that in mind if you're looking to join the military, because there's a lot to it, and the recruiters don't have your best interest at heart.